basically, these are the two kind of ways to interact with a file. So now we're going to do append, which is kind of the next one. So once you write to a file once and you try to write to a file again, it will basically overwrite what's currently in the file. So, for example, let's do. So let's make a. We're gonna make a new file just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So I'm gonna make a new file called overwrite. And I'm going to make it with write privileges. So basically what I can do is I could add some text. And what's going to happen basically is I'm going to type some text here. I'm going to give you like a nice little block of text basically. And then we're going to close the file. We're going to open it again with write privileges and try writing again. And you'll basically kind of see what happens. So we'll write, hello, my name. So I'm going to make this really quick. Then I'm going to call textfile.close. Then I'm going to do textfile.open. Actually, I'll just copy this one from here. Steal a line from above real quick. And then no, I'm just going to do this for now. So, are we good on? I know I typed a lot really quick. Basically, we're going to open a new file called overwrite. I'm going to add some of my own text. It doesn't have to be that. You can add whatever you want. You don't have to add this exactly. You can add your own name. You can do whatever. We're going to close the file. We're going to open it again with write privileges instead of our append privileges, which basically says we're going to write at the start of the file instead of the end. And I'm going to add some of my own text right over it. And then I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to open up the text file on its own without doing closing it, opening a read privileges, and printing it to the console. So we'll run this. We'll get our overwrite text file, and we get just overwrite. Okay. So did everyone get just this part at least? No? Wait, okay. Yes.
So by closing and opening again and then writing the new thing, it replaces everything that was before.
Yeah. So really quick, so we had overwrite. So I wonder if I can actually, maybe we'll see. Okay, cool. So basically, this is letting me built into my thing. I can step through my code line by line. So I just want to show you that it's not like it's disappearing or anything. So right now I just wrote to the file, hello, my name is Nicholas. Whoops. No, come back code. So that was a text file .write into overwrite. So then jump out. So we wrote to it right here, just to confirm this did go into the file originally. Then we're gonna open it again. We're gonna write overwrite over it, and it disappears. Okay, just to confirm that that's actually what's happening. It's not just like never writing the first part. All right, are we good on that then? I'll remove my red dot. Oops. All right. So one thing we can do what's called shelving. This is a cool thing you can do with text. Basically, you can make you can literally imagine it as like a shelf, and you can store variables and their information into a text file and then get them back when you need them later. So it's got its own thing called shelf, not shelf. It's its own import. So again, for those of you on the console, you can just do import shelf and use that. You can enter that single line to get the shelf commands going. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to shelve our like for example we'll shelf a list, okay? So what we're going to do, whoops, come back, I'm sorry, fix that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to delete all this, no worries. So we can, when we make a shelf, we usually call it a shelf in the variable name. So I'm going to call this a shelf file. You call shelf.open. And basically we're naming it, I'm going to call it data. So basically we can store anything that we want in here. I'm going to make a little list. I'm going to make it programming languages, I guess. So I'm going to make Python, Java, and C++. So we got these three real quick. So now what we can do is we can actually call shelf file. Or, oops. Did I spell that wrong? No, I didn't. Shelf file. And then we can do, we can actually write to this. Let's call it So basically what we're doing right now is we're saying we're gonna shelf something. It's called cats, or sorry, it's called languages. So that's what we're storing it in our shelf as. So it has a name on the shelf, and it has an actual we're assigning to that variable shelf. So then we can say shelf file dot close. So again, when you run this code, it depends on your operating system what's going to happen. On Windows, it creates a couple files for you that store the information. On Mac, it does just a single file. It contains what's called binary data. I'll run it and just kind of point out what's happening. So as you can see, it created a whole bunch of files. It's got this one, this data.back, data.dat, and data.dir. So this basically, these files, you can imagine them as, it's 3 on Windows, 1 on Mac, but basically it's where your data is. So I'm gonna open them up just to kind of show you what they look like. It's not gonna mean that much. It may not let me open up this. Never mind. So I can't open up that file on my own. And then here's the directory file as well, which looks very similar. So yes,
On back is
one file, right?
yeah, and it says I opened it and it said this document contains very long lines.
Yeah,
Wraps were forcibly enabled to improve editor.
yeah,
And it has like really weird characters.
yeah. So it's called a binary file. I don't have anything to open up the binary file on installed at the moment. It'll basically, if you open up this binary file in a text editor, you're going to get a whole bunch of gibberish. It won't really give you anything. Don't make any changes and save those changes. It'll screw up your file. It's like going to corrupt it. But basically, once we shelve that, now you can actually get it back. So then you can reopen and re-retrieve it from the shelf with calling open on it again, basically. So the concept's kind of the same. If you obviously, I'm going to do this in the same. Here, I'll do it in a different program. So basically, we deleted it. It's gone. Oh no. What we can do is shelf.open. Let me. And then let's see. Called it data. Then we can from before. Oh, I should probably give this a variable. Shelf file equals. Okay. Shelf file. So now, remember we started, it's kind of stored as like a list. So I referred to it as language. Oh, I may have been. So I'm going to print it out. Let me really quickly make sure that that's exactly what it's called. Oh, it's languages with an S. Okay. Okay. And then, bam! Got it back.
Wait, what?
So remember, I wrote to a thing. I called it languages. I stored Python, Java, and C++. I shelved it. Then basically, I opened up my file. I called it data. You should probably call it a shelf or something. The actual file itself, but I called it data. So I opened up my shelf again, and then your shelf is basically stores things in a list. So I'm using this file to figure out what that is. So it was called languages. It just gives you the name right here, and then you can open it up and get all the information that you stored back. Yes.
So the shelves, they basically store information even after you delete it. After you delete the code from.
Yes. So it's like actually putting things on a bookshelf. You can imagine. So like your program is like you currently reading a book, and then you go, I'm done, and then you close it, and then you can come back later and open up the book, and you can still go back to where you were. Yes.
I'm not sure what the shelf file languages equals languages.
What now?
In the previous file, I'm not sure what shelf file languages equals languages.
Oh, so the shelf. When you say shelf file, so what that is, that's specifically a file, a shelf file. It's called that. It's not just a normal file; it's a shelf file. So when you say, basically what you do is you can categorize things. So you have to give them a name. So because if I store things on a shelf, when you look for it, you need to give it a name. You know what I mean? I can't just be like, go over to a bookshelf and be like, get me a book. You'd be like, which one? So I usually store it with a name that's helpful. For example, I called it languages because I was talking about programming languages. So I stored it on my shelf. You give it a name. That's what the shelf, and then in the string you pass in right there says, I want to store something on the shelf with this name, and then you assign something to it directly. So if you wanted to store a singular variable that's called like number of cats, you could store in your shelf a thing called cat number and then equal number of cats. Is that clear? You getting? Okay. Yes.
So what?
Oh, either of you. What? You can keep going.
Why were 3 different files created though?
That's kind of like a Windows.
Isn't it just the one shell file, and doesn't that have the 3 languages put inside it?
So the dat file is the actual binary file that stores the data, like where the actual text, like where this text is coming from. The directory and back files are kind of like Windows specific because they require. Sorry, I'm thinking of a good way to explain it. Imagine it as like there's like a table of contents file, an info file, and then a like path file that come in with it. Whereas Mac just stores it all in one shot because it's Linux based. It doesn't have to do. It can do that all in one, basically in one program. It doesn't have to jump around. Yes.
What is 0 and 42 mean? Number character?
Kind of. I would say that's well beyond the scope of the class. I'd say don't worry about it in the grander scheme of things, aren't you? And does that come up on the binary on Mac? I don't think so, right? It just gives you straight gibberish, right?
Yeah, you just get like
the question mark with the like square. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would say it's well beyond what you need to know in terms of like using this and the value. All right. So let's we're gonna finally get to at least part of our project a little bit. So we're gonna make our own little file. We're gonna go back to. I'm just gonna import OS in shelf just in case. Just in case I need them. I don't exactly. Yeah, just in case. So basically, we're going to generate some files. I was kind of looking to make like basically a quiz file. You make your answer key, you make a question. So we're going to make like 5 questions or so, and then 5 answers, and then yeah. So basically, we are going to generate some files. So I'm going to name this file writer. And what we're going to do is we're going to just open up our own file. So this one, let me think this through. Let's make, let's make this one the questions first. So what we're gonna do, we don't actually have to. So we're going to create our file. We're gonna call it questions.text. QUES. We want write privileges. And then basically we're going to write into some of our own questions. Did I do something wrong? Oops. Oh, it's just open. Okay, sorry, no OS, my bad. So this is our first file. It'll be basically our questions. What we're gonna do, well, I'm gonna make this pretty open. You can basically add answers however you want. We're gonna follow a little bit of format though. So when we write to the file, we're gonna call it file writer, and we're gonna call write. So when you do this, basically at the end, you're going to add We'll just do singular new line character after every single question, and then end with a question mark. Okay. So I'm gonna number my questions personally. So, like I said, they can be fairly easy. Make your question preferably make your question not very long. So like. I'm going to do my what's 2 plus 2. So now we can basically create our answer key. So we're going to do right privileges. So basically we can kind of write to files at the same time. You can now at this point, I'll move this down just a little bit just to help out. Basically now you can do file write and then do a question, or sorry, we'll change the name. Or I'll just do a Q. So I'm going to name mine question writer and answer writer. Basically, you can write your questions in that format. I'm going to keep the numbers for mine. I would say add like 5 or 10 questions. You can basically think up what you want really quick. I'm going to leave this fairly open. Please don't take advantage of this to type large amounts of swear words or profanity and whatnot. But basically any 10 questions or so. Just to kind of see how this will work. So for this will be answer writer. All right. Oh, spelled it wrong. And then I can do like 4. So the important thing to remember really quick is a new line at the end of every single one. This will just make sure that your program is always ending, or every time you take a line in, when you we're going to call a function called readLine that takes a singular individual line each time. It'll allow us to not have to think very hard about what we're doing. Yes.
If the new line statement is that important, why isn't it done automatically?
Because there are times where you don't. So there are times in your text file where you don't want to have a new line. And actually in your print function, when you're printing to the terminal, it's useful to have new lines because usually the contained print statement that you're talking about, you probably want it to be able to read it on its own line. There are times where where maybe you're creating a sentence, and you don't want to have a new word in the sentence appended to a new line each time. So that's kind of like one example. It's very dependent. Like it's having more control. Other programming languages don't give you a new line on your print. Python's very unique in that every print comes with a new line attached to it automatically. So that's kind of why and what it's doing. But I'm gonna add a couple questions now. No. Yes.
I printed this, but then I got an error saying that key is not defined.
Oh, those are underscores.
Oh.
Q dot. So it's like Q underscore writer. Yeah, sorry. The dot operator always means that it wants to go into something. So it'll assume what you're talking about is usually a module when you use something dot. So. Curator dot write.
Oh, yeah. The group that we did last time.
Whoops. Okay, I'm going to cover one quick thing while people are still creating questions. If you run your code with this write, and then later you go home tonight and you're like, man, I really want to add some new questions, and you deleted your code, what you want to use is the append instead of write with the W. You want append with A, okay? So right up here where there's W, you want to use A, okay? Just to make sure if you ever, obviously super above and beyond students looking to add to your quiz thing, test your parents. A?
Yeah.
A jumps to the very end of the file and starts adding text there. Yes.
So if you use W for write to add to the next file, what would happen?
It completely deletes the contents of the old file. So you can buy. I'll mention this with a grain of salt as you have this power, but you should not use it. You can open files that like other programs like Windows directory files and things like that you probably shouldn't be messing with, and you could write to them and delete them and then save them. Do not do that. You can, but so if you want to just like append to things, adding some text below it or whatever. So. Are we close, kind of? You have a couple, like 5 questions or so at least? Yes.
If when you're opening the file, if W stands for write and A stands for append, are there any other functions you can use?
There's read, which is R, and that just like opens the file and you can just go straight through it. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, of some of the other ones. I've only used those 3. I can look it up for you, though. I would assume there's probably a read and write, but I'm not sure. There's kind of a way around it, but read write and read write. There's like one that does both. That doesn't. It's hard though. But yeah, there's like one other one basically. Is everyone done? Just kind of like staring at me? Okay. So I ran my code right here so far. So here's my questions one. It's got my set of questions. And then here's my other one. It's got my set of answers. You should probably run your code once, double check that it works. Make sure that it's good to go. I see other people are still typing. I'm going to wait just another moment really quick. Is everyone almost done? Close? I'm just gonna wait to. Are we ready to go? Okay. I'm gonna delete my code from here. Remember, no worries. It's already been saved. If you want to write more, you can always open these with append. I'm gonna switch over to append so I don't accidentally delete. But I'm gonna show how to add, basically how to make this little quiz game work. So basically, we're gonna open a file with read privileges, and we're going to open up the answer key and the question, and what we're going to do is we're going to read the line from our question, we're going to take a text input and we're going to compare it to our answer key and print out wrong or right. And you'll do that for the whole quiz. Okay, so it's kind of a little bit interactive quiz. So basically, here's what the underlying code will look like. This isn't the exact code that you're going to want to type, but this is what it's going to look like. It'll look kind of like this. So what this is going to do basically is, what's it going to do? So it's basically saying for every line, you want, again, make sure your files have the same amount of lines, or else you may run into some weird thing. We're going to open one file in read mode. We're going to say for every line in it, which is basically saying every get line. There's a function called getLine we're going to do. We're going to print out that line, take a user input, and then we're going to read the next line from our answer key and then compare the two. Okay. So let's, oops, come back. Okay. So let's do, I'll just copy this. So my first line right here, I want to open a reader for the questions. I'm going to steal this line of code as well, really quick. So now we're going to do so we can print, I believe, read questions dot read line. I am going to supplement this with a singular new line character. Actually, no, it's print. I'm going to bank on new line coming up and working. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to print the question. If you want to make your quiz a little bit better, we're going to probably add a print up here at the start that says welcome to your quiz. Again, if you want to actually keep track of their score throughout the quiz, to see if they get 100% or something, you can also create a value called score. You're probably going to also want something that keeps track of the amount of questions you have as well. So we'll 0 as well. Oops. Okay. So basically, so far, all I've did is say welcome to the quiz. It's going to print that out. I'm going to add a new line in the new line, so it's going to print out 2 new lines. Just so that it adds a little bit of spacing. Again, personal preference, you don't have to do that. We've got a tally of our score, a tally of the questions, and then right now it's going to print out every single line in our question list. So what we're going to want to do next is basically take some user input. So I'm going to call it input answer equals input. So it's going to take in the user input. Now what we want to probably grab is the actual answer. So we're going to basically do the same thing. We're going to do read answer, dot read line. And now I get a nice little if check real quick. So this is gonna pull a string. The answer they're gonna type in is a string. So we're just gonna be able to do some nice string comparison. So what we want to see is if they're equivalent, what do? We can do score equals score plus 1. And then we can print out like nice job or correct. And then we can have our nice else. Yeah, we can do like, yeah, you can do like, I hate you. I don't know. Yeah, we'll just print out wrong. Oops. Oh. Okay. So the one thing we need to remember too is we increase their score if they win. We also need to increase their questions no matter what. So this will just keep our tally of how many questions are going. You could also again have this code anywhere in our for loop. So this will basically iterate over our thing and tell us our answers, and that pretty much is it. So I'm gonna try it out. Seems we skipped our first line. I'll have to figure that one out. So how many fingers do I have? 5. You are wrong. Ah, how sad. Okay, I guess we'll have to figure out what happened. Oh, I know what happened. We should print out the line. I bet that will be our problem. Aha, there we go. Oh, yes.
What do you change?
Oh, sorry. So for the for loop, what I changed was this had for line and read questions. So it already pulls the line. When I say for line, just like line on its own, it calls read line. So I called read line again and missed the first question, basically. So let's figure out really quick why we're not getting our questions to work. Not 100% sure yet. Read answer dot read line. Let's double check. Let's see. Oh, I wonder. Oh, there's a space at the end. Oh, okay. There's just a space at the end. I'm guessing that will probably be my problem. Nope. Okay. I am not sure then. Let's see. Let's pull up debug. I know what's wrong. Oh, it's got the new line character. Oh, okay. So sorry, we're gonna fix this real quick. Basically, when we took in our input and hit the enter key, or when we read from the next file, it basically has 4 in the new line character. So we're just gonna do plus. We're just gonna concatenate our string. I'm just gonna use plus equals, and we're just gonna add a new line to it to fix it real quick, and then we should be good to go. Now let's try one more time. Awesome. And it's 605 feet, so we'll put in 600. And we got it wrong. Awesome. Okay, now we got it working. Okay, so now at the end of our game, really quick, we're going to print out our score. And then we're going to have some extra time if you guys want to, I don't know, add to your quiz, look up extremely hard questions, and then test your parents or something. I don't know. So at the end, we're going to print out what we did is you got... And then you could want to add score out of questions right. Yeah, should be good to go. Double check it real quick. Oops. Oh, whoops. Forgot about these. These are numbers. Okay. We'll make it a nice little percentage. 100. There we go. Okay, so this will give us our answer in a percentage too. Just to confirm, 4, 5, 11, 66 point, a whole bunch of 6%. Yeah, that's pretty much our quiz game. We got a couple more minutes. Super close. Yeah, I guess we'll clean it up a little bit. So for our current thing, it prints out like 9 decimal points, and that's not so convenient. So I'm gonna have it do the math for computing basically computing its percentage, and I'm gonna just round it. So I'm just going to say score equals score times question times 100. So we have basically you can round it when we call it. So there's this function called round. What you do is you specify the calculation that you're going to make and then how many decimal points. So I'm going to put in 3 decimal points, for example. And this will just make it a little bit cleaner. Cool. So there you go. That's kind of all I had planned for today. Super close on timing, but I guess you guys, if you are done and don't want to add more to your quiz, you're free to go at this point. If you want to add more or have any questions, you can stay around. But yeah, that's all I had planned for today.
Whenever I try to run it, it just says welcome to the quiz and then it just ends.
Oh, wait, sorry. Did let's see. What's he always complaining about? Oh, missing white space. Okay. You should really space out your code a little bit more, by the way. All these little lines that you see down here, like in Word, are basically suggesting that you should probably make a change. But that's not what's causing the problem, though. I'm kind of interested. I feel like this is going to be really stupid, but... Whoops. Control. I just want to see if this is what causes it. Also, where are your files?
Questions.txt and answers.txt.
Oh, okay. I have a theory, and I am going to try it just like this, really quick. So, one unfortunate thing about writing code for opening files and whatnot is that when things go wrong, it's hard to tell because the operating system is what denies you access. So, I have a theory that it just wants a dot close before you open it again. It is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you are reading one too many. We're going to change this. So actually, when we made a call to line and read questions, it actually is calling readquestions.readline. So you're actually calling the second question. That was my own mistake again, I'm sorry. Like I said, I make these on the fly. So there's a couple of problems. And your first question is 19 times 6?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm going to say, do that. So really quick, when you go through it, there's all these little things right here that say PEP, 8, missing white space. It's not required of you to make your code work. It's standard formatting for other people to read your code. It's just, if you're going to write more Python code in the future and someone reads your code, it'll be very easy for them to be like, oh, okay, that's what this is. That's why I type all my code in a very specific style. Yes.
I did the quiz and it makes me put the answers in string form, so that's one problem. And then I got 1 out of 5 on it, and it gave me 0%.
0%. Okay, sorry, I'm just really quickly making sure. 1 second. You got 1 out of 5. Sorry, could you say the first problem again, really quick? Sorry, I got sidetracked
It made me
thinking.
type all the answers in string format. So if I just typed them in, then they would give me an error. So I have to put it in.
Yeah. When you pull a read line, it comes in as a singular string, and your answer comes in as a string. So you should be able to compare them. So wait, what?
And the second one was
was that?
1 out of 5. It says 0.
0%. That is really weird. More questions, 100. Oh wait, I wonder. No, I do the same thing. Oh. I am not 100% sure. Could I really quickly see your questions file?
Yeah.
And then your answer file? Just opening both of them.
The questions and the answers.
Oh, okay. So you actually put in.
So I did it on purpose, but now I realize.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Yeah. Let me really quickly. Can I just do one thing? I'm kind of interested. Like I just said before, file I/O is like the thing I never do. When I teach this, I feel kind of bad. Because I'm always just like, it doesn't work, and it's because the OS didn't like that. And I can't be like, well, the OS is wrong. It's more like, oh, well, I don't know. I'm going to fix your spacing on an unrelated note. That's not going to fix your problem, but it will just make it a little bit easier. Okay. I want to try this really quick. My theory is that it's doing integer math, even though for some reason mine isn't. I just have a theory, so I'm going to force it to do double point precision math and do floats at least.
Do I still need to type it in strings?
You can type in, yeah, you can just type in one, just get one right at least. That's all I really am interested in. Oh! No, never mind. Just run that.
My program skips the 1, 3, and 5.
1, 3, and 5.
I don't know why.
You are calling read line each time. For read question, just do line. So line is calling read line already. So you call read line in the for loop and then read line again. So it'll always skip 2. And
So
4.
how would I fix that?
Just use line in your loop for
line?
print. Yeah, for the print for read question, dot read line. Same thing.
No, wait, would I put here?
Just line. The actual just line.
Just print
Just
line?
like the loop.
Just print line?
Yeah.
Okay.
That should fix these particles.
Okay.
Still gives me 0%.
It still gives 0. Wait. It didn't even save my spacing.
Oh, you have to do Command S for the spacing.
The correct answers are coming in as incorrect.
Correct answer here is incorrect. Questionnaire plus. I don't need to see the answer. I want to see what. Yeah. Okay.
Is that my head? Sorry, I love you.
You need to add the new line character.
Oh.
That was sorry. When it takes the line in, even though the new line character is hidden, it keeps it. I didn't actually. I forgot about that. I'm sorry. That'd be my bad.
It's working now.
Good. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. It was the parentheses.
Where are the lines?
The lines.
Yeah, if you look at the print, they're like lines and then.
Oh yeah, it's Yeah, one sec. Let me finish up how. Yeah.
The part says something about
Dividing by 0. You are not incrementing. Oh, your questions is in your else. Move your questions out of your else, so it always tallies the question each time.
Here, move. Let her see the 3D print. Look, we made a thing.
Oh, no, yeah, just one tab. One
You
tab.
break it.
Just, yeah, perfect.
Isn't that
Perfect.
cool? Right?
You do go straight to the end.
Desserts? You can 3D print a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I really can get you strong.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I want that.
Okay.
That's the question.
Oh, I'm jolly.
Should I do the questions? Any answers?
Okay, I think we can go back.
Oh no, wait, sorry. Just right. Oh, I'm just purple thing. Oh yeah, no, I just ran into this one. So here's what you want to add: 2 lines of code. I'm gonna type on my computer, and you can sit down if you'd like to type this really quick. So basically, when I deleted my code from above, I forgot that this would come in probably into play. So right before these 2 lines of code right here, with read questions and read answers, what you want is this right here. So you see you have the writer right here, these writers. you want to call just like this. Just like that. For both the writer and the answer. So right now, if you open a reader and you have a writer open, it'll open the reader where the writer is.
Oh.
So you finish the file, it's open at the very end, and you're like, okay, I want to read from here, and it says great, and then the next call says get the next line. It says done, and then you get nothing, and then the code just ends because it's a loop through all the lines.
It's still putting the wrong answers out.
Yeah, still putting the wrong answers out. Theory, really quick. I'm also going to run debug really quick because I'm interested.
Oh yeah, it's working now. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Print line answer done. Read line question done plus equals 1. And else incorrect. Alright, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna really quickly run debug because I'm interested to see what it's not liking. Again, you don't ever really gonna use this. I'm just gonna use this to fix this very quickly. I just want to know what's going wrong. Okay, I don't know what 19 times 6 is, so I'm gonna put 256. Okay, the input answer is 256. The answer is 1.
What?
According to what you've taken from your answer. You are taking the 1 in the colon. I did not say to add the 1 in the colon. Or the 1 in the dot. Leave your answers just like this.
Oh.
It's because it's reading the whole line. It's looking for 1 dot space and then that. That's why I didn't number those. And you should be good to go. Yeah, I just didn't want to keep you here waiting for a while. What was it, 114? Oof, it still doesn't like that. What did it not like? Oh, we didn't save the file. Is your code writing to? Yeah, it's writing to it repeatedly. Just delete these in your actual code, and you'll be good to go. Okay, I have something to tutor. Should we go upstairs? Oh. Okay. I'm sorry. All right.
It's still not working.
Still not working? All right. Well, one thing is I definitely need to. I have someone need to tutor for one.
Nick, you can have this room till 9:30.
You have a period and a space.
I had those afterwards.
You just have 114, no space in the new line.
Yes.
You're gonna run. Okay. I'm gonna run debug real quick. I want to run debug real quick. I really need to call it here. Who's 114? Answer read from 9 is 1. Oh, you're calling readline 1. It's reading 1 character. Okay, you're reading 1 character. Okay. All right, I am sorry. I
Alright.
am all over the place, and I broke my toe, or fractured my toe. So
How did it get fractured?
I ran into my corner of my couch
Oh.
late at night. Okay. So you said we were going to run over the whole AP curriculum, and
Yes.
I have the Barron book. And you said you had some experience, not really
Not really much.
that much.
Yeah.
Okay, that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Do you want a keychain?
Sure.
Okay, you need a keychain. Here you go. I broke the other keychain too. Here you go. Have the last remaining keychain.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's really sad. I waited like an hour for that. That's okay. Okay. Okay, I'll run through the first part, and I feel like the first part will be, if you programmed before, is fairly understandable.
Yeah.
The part where, like, the actual part where the bulk of the AP class
Yeah.
is right on the cusp of what you know, and based on what you've told me so far.
Mhm.
And then it's going to be, it's like Java specific, so
Okay.
there's no expectation that you know it. So. All right, you installed IntelliJ?
Yeah.
Good to go? Okay. So I guess today's going to be like a little bit of a learning on my part. I should probably stop this.